Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allows you to record and edit your broadcast so it sounds great. And they even distribute your broadcast for you so that it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So make sure you download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello everyone, and here are your news for this week. Join host Andrew FRETT every Friday on our podcast for his show, Let's Fret About Education, where he interviews amazing guests and discusses his own opinions and thoughts about the topics on Future Educators Talk and what's happening around the world. Follow and subscribe to my own podcast, DAMIAN Talks Education, everywhere you stream your podcast at, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. New episodes of Future Educators Talk drops on Thursdays, so follow and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast at. Follow Future Educators Talk on social media: Facebook, Future Educators Talk, Instagram at Future Educators Talk, and on Twitter at Future Ed Talk. So follow our podcast. And follow your host of Future Educators Talk on social media. You can follow me, Damian Anderson, on Instagram at @DamianAnderson and on Twitter at _Damian Anderson. You can follow Andrew FRETT on Instagram at @It'sAndrewFRETT and on Twitter at Darren_Fret. And you can follow KJ Johnson II on Instagram at KJJohnsonII and on Twitter at KJJohnson11 or II. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Future Educators Talk, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of our video version episodes that we upload. Also, you can now listen to past episodes of our show on our YouTube channel and on all the podcast platforms that we are located at. Now sit back and relax because a new episode of Future Educators Talk is starting now.
Welcome to Future Educators Talk with your hosts, Damian Anderson, Andrew FRETT, and KJ Johnson II. Always remember, we are future educators.
And so let's get this started with this episode here. Today, the topic is how to talk to your kids about race. So let's get this started with this topic here, KJ.
Now, with everything that's going on this year, with the uprising and social unrest, with police brutality, inequality, and now the election and the debate that just happened with our current president and our prospective president, many caregivers, teachers, educators, whatever, find themselves struggling to teach their children the concepts and the history behind racism, ethnicity, and inequality. Racism is not only what you think when you think of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, but racism also stems in the systemic forms like in schools, in jobs and, finances and these different areas and these different industries. Remember, as educators and as caregivers, you are supposed to prepare your kids to live in the world after they have gone out of your care. It's okay that you don't have all the answers to race, but you do have to, in some dynamic, talk about it and get them to understand that racism still exists, that racism is still out there, and they will most likely experience racism in one part of their lives. So So even though you don't have all the answers, it is okay, and we can just go down and discuss them together. So, Damien, I'm gonna let you have the floor here.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what me and Andrew say all the time, if you want some change to happen, it first starts with you first talking about it. Because if you don't talk about it, then I'm sorry, no change is going to happen. I'm sorry, but if you want change to happen now with everything that's currently going on in the world, then start talking about it now. Start discussing it. So my first point that I have is, and to all of you who are maybe asking, where do I begin? Where do I start? Well, first, educate yourself. Educate yourself about racism. And if caregivers, if you guys feel uncomfortable or you feel that you lack some knowledge about this topic, there are more likely to avoid it. So start educate yourself first about this. Please do. That is the first point of all. Educate yourself if you want to get started with this. And then to also, my second point is to read a few articles or books, whatever. Watch a few documentaries or videos, or even listen to some podcasts about race and racism to get you started of how you can start having these uncomfortable conversations with your friends and family members about this. So this is how you get started. Educate yourself first about this, and then read you some books, watch you some documentaries, and listen to some podcasts about this here.
Oh, and so the next point involves, what age should I start talking to children about race and racism? This is a very good point, and I'm glad that we're discussing it. Caregivers should begin talking about race, racism, inequality, voting, all that different stuff early. Instill it in your kids. Kids are learning and hearing them, whether parents talk to them or not. Um, so as soon as 6 months of age, kids start noticing skin color, just like they know other physical differences. They are already internally biased. Silence teaches about race. Silence about race teaches children that they cannot talk about it, and it may reinforce the type of race they're on. So never be silent about it. Have those conversations. Talk to them early. Um, Keep in mind their developmental level. Start by asking questions to understand what they know and what they are currently thinking. That's so important, because if you start too deep, they're going to be looking at you with a blank stare, not understanding what's going on. But if you start too simple, have a million questions. Ask questions and see what they know, and so you can guide your discussion off of that. Ask questions about what they're thinking, how they're feeling, and what they want to know about racism. um, follow their um, Follow their lead. If they have follow-up questions, they're showing you that they want more, so you have to talk to them about more. You know, create a, I mean, one thing I'm going to add in here is create a safe space, you know, where they can go talk about these topics. They can talk about inequality. They can talk about racism. Create that safe space, because if you create that safe space, then it creates a trust between you and the kid, to where he or she can tell you about anything regarding that subject. Um, Caregivers, like I said, can give more complex information as they mature, as children mature. And remember, these conversations should be ongoing and not be a one-time occurrence. So these conversations should be going as many, you know, many conversations as you can as they develop in the school age process, because racism doesn't stop. So why should your conversation stop? It should never stop. Once you share that with them. So early, talk to your kids early, equality early, talk to them, voting early, because the information and knowledge that they have early, the more of an impact they can have later.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you just mentioned about being silenced, we should not be silenced about talking about this. We all need to come together and start talking about this together. Because if you are silent and not having these conversations together, then your kids, like you said, they're not going to talk about this because you are first are not talking about it yourself. You are not being the example of starting these conversations, having these uncomfortable conversations. So we can't be silent. We all need to speak up about this because I want some change to happen. I want it to end. And it first starts with us. It first starts with us of talking about it together. Now, my next point I have is when I talk about race and racism, what should I say? And this is what a lot of people have in mind. What should I say about this when I start talking about race and racism? Well, the first step of this is to talk about it itself in general. Talk about race. Let kids know that there is absolutely nothing wrong with observing some physical characteristics and differences in their lives. Now, however, they want to be very careful not to make any negative judgments based on those differences. So, talk about it firsthand. It's okay. It is all right. Next point I have is to talk about the positive aspects of it, of how it is different, and also talk about the similarities in all groups because different is not a weird or kind of a bad thing. We've got to talk about because there are some positive things about this. It's not just all negative and bad with it. There are some positive aspects of this. So start talking about it and also what's similar with it as well. Um, and then I have is to teach them, your children's, about the different stereotypes and also remind them that not all people in one group are the same. We are not all the same. I'm tired of people saying that we are different groups of people. We are not the same. So teach them about the stereotypes and remind them that we are not all in the same boat. We are different people. Then also talk about the historical about racism. For example, you have slavery, the Jim Crow law, the civil rights movement, and the ongoing struggles for social injustice, for social justice. And understand that history, this can help explain to them why certain words or statements are very hurtful to them and why current events like now, which may be happening in the world, and also remember to highlight some key points that racism is not a thing of the past. Please remember that. To highlight that racism is not a thing of the past because it's not. It's not. And then also discuss that people are sometimes, we are all treated unfairly because of the color of our skin that we are in. And kids, they understand this very, very well, trust me. Now, for older kids, you can have a deeper conversation, a discussion about about the systems that help maintain these inequalities together as a whole. And also, you could use tools to help engage kids into the conversation, bring them into the conversation. Provide some books because they are some helpful tools of engaging and explaining the concepts to your children. And then finally, what I have is to talk about how they can make a change, what I talked about earlier, how they can make a change. Now we have topics. This includes being kind to all people of all backgrounds, as well as to we must listen by having these conversations, we have to listen. And also to understand the experience of our feelings of others who are different because like I mentioned earlier, we are all different. We are not the same. We come from different backgrounds. So that is what I have here. is where should I start about talking about race and racism? And these are the things that I just mentioned. So, KJ, what about you? What else should um, everyone should know about how to talk to your kids about race?
Perfect. We're going to talk about what you can do as a caregiver, teacher, educator to encourage, diversity and assimilation and all these different aspects that go into the racism dynamic. The first thing you can do is set an example. The best thing a leader, a caregiver, educator can do is set an example. Set an example. That includes having a diverse network of friends, attend diverse community events, consume diverse media such as books, shows, movies, and video games in your home, and show some type of knowledge about diversity and the quote unquote melting pot that we were taught in grade school. Just set an example of diversity and inclusion, because if you do that and if you act towards that, then your kids will be more prone to say, okay, that's right, so I'm gonna follow that. Number two, highlight heroes of color. We know a lot of heroes of color. Number one, Martin Luther King Jr. That's one that's always talked about, in the February Black History Month. There's a lot more. And I will add something to that. You can get the interest of your students. Say your students like sports. You can highlight a hero like Michael Jordan or Reggie Bush or Jesse Owens and highlight them as the work that they did. A lot of kids like LeBron now. LeBron is doing a lot more than playing basketball. He opened a school. Like, he's encouraging social justice. He is using his platform to encourage social justice, highlight those heroes of color. It's for me, since I'm a minister, I watch pastors that march in social justice protest and preach about social justice, and I try to tailor what I speak to how they're speaking about it, because I want to be outspoken about it too, because I want change not only in my community but my generation as well. Number three, have discussions about how people are represented and watch. Let me say that again. Have discussions about how people are represented in what you watch and challenge those stereotypes. There we go. There's a saying that I like to say called defy stereotypes. There's a stereotype out there for everybody, and the way you defy those is to find out the way people are treated, find out the root of those stereotypes, and then find a way that you can erase that stigma of that stereotype. Have discussions about how people are represented. If you see Black people, Black men that are always represented in sports and entertainment, challenge that and say, no, I'm going to be a Black doctor, or I'm going to be a Black lawyer, I'm going to be a Black educator, I'm going to be, a Black mayor, a Black astronaut, whatever you want. Challenge those stereotypes, because there's a stigma out there on Black men that they can only rap and play basketball or football or run track. But there is much more to it. I was talking about this yesterday with one of my friends. There's much more to the Black man than entertainment or sports. We are smart. We love the arts. I know I love writing. I love speaking. I'm not necessarily a sporty person, but I love everything else besides sports. So, and I tailor my interest in my activities to those. So, and I guess represent myself as a positive Black male in today's society. Number four, let your children see you talk to others about race and having discussions with other adults around them. If you are a teacher, you can put together a thing like a panel or something for a school assembly, to where y'all are having an open discussion about race, and y'all are answering questions to kids about race with the panel of teachers or administrators. They see y'all having those positive conversations, then they'll be more prone to act on those conversations as well. To see that you are encouraging it, it helps them to know that it is okay. And lastly but not least, pay attention to what's trending online and what teens are exposed to. I don't like the stigma that teachers shouldn't have social media, or teachers shouldn't follow their kids on social media. I mean, that is true in a sense, but to really tailor your lessons and tailor your discussions to what is trending and what they're retweeting and what they're tweeting online and social media, you have to be connected in some way. The media age is the media. This right here, the media age is real important to now lesson planning, assessment, effective instruction. Because if you tailor your lessons and your discussions to their wants and their needs and their interests, then you'll be more prone to, I guess you can say, um, instill those values in them. And so once you instill those values in them, it's limitless what you can do. So those are things that you can do to encourage positive reform in the social injustice dynamic and the racism dynamic. Oh yeah, one more thing. Encourage your students to vote. Educate them on. We're coming up on an election now. Encourage your students to vote. If they're 18 years older or whatever, encourage them to vote. I know today in Texas the last day to register to vote, so it'll be probably kind of a stretch to get them registered. However, in upcoming elections, educate them about what's going on to influence their vote in future elections. Always have open the floor to educate them about political candidates, not only on the federal level, but on the state level and local level, because those local and state officials affect more than what those federal officials do. I'm telling you, the reason why Breonna Taylor's uh, killers aren't charged with the murder that they did is because of the district attorney. It wasn't because of President Trump. It wasn't because of the governor. It was because of the district attorney that's elected. I guess you can say every so election. If you want to see, change in your community, it starts at the local level. Educate your students about the local level of politicians rather than just the national level. Everybody sees Joe Biden, Donald Trump, but I want to see my mayor. I want to see my sheriff. I want to see my district attorneys and my justice of the peace. Because if I see those, then I will be more prone to know how to make change and follow those values of those people. I want to tell you, in my area, we have some very good local. There's probably about a good two or three of them that I really don't really mess with, but we have a very good local government. And it's because people down here are very knowledgeable and very educated about the vote on the local level. So encourage your students and educate your students to vote and and let them know how powerful their vote is.
Absolutely, because your voice, it does matter, it does count. So, every voice that you can from different people, I encourage you guys to get out and vote because your voice does matter. Trust me, it does matter. Great episode here of talking about how to talk with your kids about guns because
It is time now. It should have been time to start talking about this with your kids. I don't know what was the issue of waiting to start talking about it, but it's time now to start having these discussions with your kids so they can know all the informations and everything of what's currently going on around the world because we are still dealing with this. And like I believe KJ, you mentioned it earlier, it still exists. Racism still exists. If you want it to end and you want change to happen, please start talking about it. Because if you don't talk about it, there's no change is going to happen. So it starts with you and it starts with us to start talking about it together. We got to have these uncomfortable conversations. We got to dig down deep and start having it. Seriously, we got to. So this was a great episode here. Anything else that you would like to point out before we end?
I think I'm good, my brother. Yeah, it's make sure teachers, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote, and then go vote. Don't just register. We need change, regardless on your political views. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just asking you to vote. It's powerful. You know, so please vote. And I'm sure Damian's gonna say this and reiterate this, but please wear your mask. I'm tired of this corona, tired of being in the house, I'm tired of wearing my mask. Wear your mask so we can all get out of this sooner than later.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because it's you guys, it really does. It does save lives. And it, I just we the 2,000 Americans that we have lost to this COVID-19, that could not have happened, you guys. Seriously, that could not have happened if we just did our part of wearing our masks and social distance, and if our president was supposed to be our leader for us of guiding us into the right direction, but he did not. He did not when this all started happening. And now he has the coronavirus now. So that's something that really is. So I'm not going to
So
get all.
ironic.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. I'm tuning in for this incredible episode of Future Educators Talk. And I forgot to mention, we have some resources for you guys of talking about race. They will be in the description down below, so check them out. Make sure you follow us on our social media platforms. They're in the description below. And also you can follow us as well. So until next time, you guys, please take care of yourself, be blessed, and to wear your mask, please. We'll see you guys next time on a new episode of Future Educators Talk. So take care.
What's going on, everybody? It's KJ here, letting you know that if you have any questions or concerns about Future Educators Talk, stories to share, feedback to make our podcast better, reactions to the topics that we discuss, jokes to tell, or you would like someone for the co-host to interview, please let us know by direct messaging us on Instagram at Future Educators Talk, emailing us at futureeducatorstalk@gmail.com, or sending in a voice message to us by going to anchor.fm/futureedtalk. Click on the message tab to where you can record your question to us. Once again, we thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support, and we cannot wait for you to tune in for season 4.
Don't just listen to Future Educators Talk on your smartphone. Continue the conversation online. Like us on Facebook. Be a part of our conversation by telling us what you think of our episodes. Join us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes content. Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date with what's happening on our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss future episodes. And beyond, it's you who keeps Future Educators Talk going. So like, comment, share, subscribe, review, and connect everywhere with us. You get social. So let's listen together.